This was not on my 2025 baseball bingo card, but the Astros just made a trade that could turn Jose Altuve into a left fielder. Yeah, that could actually happen. We also have to talk about the richest owner in Major League Baseball, Steve Cohen. He owns the Mets. He called out Pete Alonso, basically saying that his free agent talks between him and Pete have been exhausting and that he's trying to move on. And would you look at that? We have a 27-year-old Japanese pitcher who is not going to the Dodgers. We'll talk about that later in the video. We talk baseball almost every single day on this channel, so if you don't want to miss out on the biggest news, hit that subscribe button. And also, don't forget that MLB Recap is brought to you by SeatGeek and Underdog Fantasy. Use code Fuzzy. I do want to talk about that Astros trade, but we'll talk about that later on because Pete Alonso getting essentially called out for being exhausting. Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets, was in front of a bunch of Mets fans. They were chanting, "We want Pete," and then he pretty much responded by saying, "Hey guys, this has been exhausting. We're probably going to move on. We'll keep the door open, but yeah, Pete, we don't like the offers that he's given us."
All right, we've made a significant offer to Pete, and you know what Davis says correct. He's entitled to go out and explore his market, and that's what he's doing. Personally, this has been an exhausting conversation and negotiation. I mean, Soto was tough. This is worse. You know, I don't like the structures that are being presented back to us. I think it's highly asymmetric against us, and so you know, I will never say no. You know, there's always the possibility. But the reality is, you know, we're moving forward and, you know, we continue to bring in players. And I'm being brutally honest. I don't like the negotiations. If it stays this way, you know, I think we're going to have to get used to the fact that, you know, we may have to go forward and with the existing players that we have.
It is rare to see an owner who is that transparent. Steve Cohen basically just said, "Hey, Pete, if you want to come be a Met, fine, but you have to play by our rules because if you don't remember, Pete, you rejected a 7-year, $158 million contract extension prior to 2024. You had a decent little meh 2024. The home runs were still there, but the defense wasn't. The on-base skills weren't. You struck out more. You bet on yourself, and unlike Aaron Judge, you lost." It's taking so long that I actually think that in Pete's brain, he thinks that he's been Prince Fielder good and he deserves Prince Fielder money, despite the fact that Prince Fielder was an on-base god who never struck out. Pete Alonso can't say the same thing. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that real quick because I've never seen an owner that transparent about one of their own franchise stars. I completely forgot to talk about this move in the last recap, so let's get Paul Sewald going to the Guardians out the way. So he is joining a stable. We know that the Guardians bullpen is absolutely loaded. Now, Paul has not been very good over the last year and a half. He was a demon when he first joined the Mariners back in 2021. He had 104 strikeouts in 64 innings. Like, that's insane strikeout stuff. Now, the stuff did dip a little bit. He was still elite, though, until the second half of 2023, where he absolutely imploded with the Diamondbacks. He gave up that home run in the World Series to Corey Seager, one of the best home runs I've ever seen, one of the more clutch moments. He has tons of experience, and because he's joining that Cleveland bullpen, which he's going to get taxed a ton, he's a good arm to have. He's a veteran. He's got nasty stuff. I like this move, and he's only getting like $6-7 million. From a new Guardian to a former Guardian, it is weird to say out loud that James Karinchak is no longer with Cleveland. Wild thing, he bursted onto the scenes back when he was a rookie. I think he had 18 strikeouts per nine. Okay, 17.7 strikeouts per nine. That's 53 strikeouts in 27 innings as a rookie. He is now with the White Sox on a minor league contract. Not even a guaranteed chance at making the big leagues. They're essentially giving James Karinchak a flyer. They're going to try and fix his command because even though James has always been one of the nastier pitchers in baseball in terms of getting guys out via the strikeout, the command was always a problem. He would walk two guys and then give up the worst timed home run you've ever seen. Even though his ERA was pretty decent over the last few years, his final innings, check this out, his final 37 innings with Cleveland, a 2.6 ERA and a 13 strikeouts per nine, but none of that really mattered because of the health, the command, and finally, the untimely home runs given up after walking 2 or 3 guys. He's out in Cleveland, but he stays in the same division. He goes to the White Sox. Without further ado, let's talk about that trade that could turn Jose Altuve, the Astros Pantheon second baseman, into an outfielder? What's going on? Ryan Presley is on the move. One of the best playoff pitchers, at least relief pitchers we've seen in the last few decades. He's been that good. He's on the move to Chicago. So this is the second move that the Cubs and the Astros made. Real quick before we talk about Ryan Presley, the Astros are getting 20-year-old Juan Bello in return. Now, this guy, he really likes to mess with hitter timing. He reminds me a lot of Marcus Stroman. He's got solid command. He does have more strikeouts than innings pitched, so he can get the strikeout. He does punch people out when he needs to, and this frees up almost $9 million in cash for the Astros to spend on a bat, a very specific bat, but we'll talk about that again in a few moments. The Cubs are getting Ryan Presley in about $5.5 million in cash. Presley is not guaranteed a closing role because, I mean, Porter Hodge still exists. Porter Hodge might have the best sweeper in baseball, but Presley does have a chance at being a closer. He had 26 saves, then 33, then 31 before Josh Hader came in and stole his job. Now, Houston, they're probably scared of his 2023 season. He had a 3.6 ERA, but dominated in the playoffs again. And like I mentioned, he had one of the better runs as a reliever in postseason history. From the 2020 wild card to the end of 2023, he allowed 3 earned runs total in 34 innings. And at one point, he went 23 consecutive innings without allowing a single run in the playoffs. Now, again, he's finally going to get a chance to be a closer again. I would prefer Porter Hodge simply because he's got the strikeout stuff in his back pocket and he throws a whole lot harder. I feel like that's just what you want out of a closer going into 2025. No shade at Ryan Presley, who's going to be 36 years old. Maybe he turns in a David Robertson, Kirby Yates renaissance season. I believe more in Hodge. This trade has been in the works the last few days, but because Ryan Presley had that no trade clause, he could have said no, so they were trying to convince him. Ultimately, it worked out. Presley, he's a Cub. So what does this have to do with Jose Altuve and him being a left fielder? Well, the GM just said that because of this trade, because of the freed up almost $9 million, this cracks the door back open for Alex Bregman re-signing. And remember, the Cubs already gave the Astros Isaac Paredes, an infielder, in return for Kyle Tucker. They could put Paredes at second base. Bregman, he just won a Gold Glove at third base, so he'd go back to the hot corner. And Altuve, he's an awful defender, so him in left field actually might make a lot of sense. Now, he is a short king, so obviously if there's anything behind him, it's going to be a whole lot harder, and he's never really played outfield, so the reads might be tough at first. But Jose Altuve, he's a great athlete. Not saying he's going to be Kevin Kiermaier out there, but he could be kind of nice. Me personally, before this trade happened, I for sure thought that Bregman was either going to be a Tiger or a Red Sox. But now that the Astros have freed up a little bit more money, they do not want to go over the luxury tax again, because that would mean they're a 2-time offender of going over the luxury tax, so they would get double feed. But this could be the move that gets the deal done. Bregman could be back in an Astros uniform, and I wouldn't be surprised. A 27-year-old Japanese pitcher is coming over to Major League Baseball, and he's not going to the Dodgers. 27-year-old Shinosuke Ogasawara, if I botched that, I'm so sorry. He is going to the Nationals on a 2-year deal worth $3.5 million. He is one of the streakiest pitchers in the entire JPL. Lots of strikeouts one year, no strikeouts the next year. Back to a lot of strikeouts, then no strikeouts. Now, he did get the walk rate in check over the last 2 seasons, so if he's not striking guys out, he's usually not walking anyone. So this will be a fun project in the making. 27-year-old Shinosuke, he goes to the Nationals. Also, I know this is random, but check out the youngest prospect in the top 100 for Major League Baseball. The 56th ranked prospect, he's on Milwaukee, 17-year-old Jesus Made. He's a speed demon. He's got some pop in that bat. He's a switch hitter. I just had to bring him up. His name is Jesus Made. I know that was kind of a longer recap and it was dominated by relievers, but hey, you know what? Hashtag relievers matter. I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, do me a favor, leave a like and also subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.